So we ended last time talking about the Drake equation, sometimes called the Greenbank equation, which was an attempt at estimating how many civilizations are out there. Really, the equation was not really a serious attempt to do that. The equation was really, just a ballpark thing that Frank Drake came up with to sort of see, well, how would I organize this conference to even discuss the search for intelligent life? Depending on, and we only know the first term, R, the rate of solar type star formation. That's one. The other terms we kind of guess at. And depending on how you guess, you get widely disparate numbers here. You can get either a galaxy filled with extraterrestrial life, or you can get a galaxy that's very sparse in life. And so we kind of don't really know. And so it could be one or it could be the other. We might be the only evidence of intelligent life that's currently in the galaxy, or there may be some others out there, but they may be very far away, and so unlikely to actually interact with us. Frank Drake also said, well, how do we actually find them? Because our atmosphere blocks a lot of radio signals. The intergalactic medium blocks the galactic intergalactic space, the interstellar medium, that blocks a lot of radio signals too. And so he said, what would be a good place to look? And he realizes that water, which is almost absolutely essential in a planet's atmosphere, blocks a lot of radio signals that are at too high of frequencies. Okay, and the other problem is that there's too much background radiation noise at lower frequencies. And so there's this range of frequencies here. Now that's a huge range of frequencies in there, and your radio receivers are designed to look at one frequency at a time, and so you can't really listen to all that. So he kind of got to thinking about it, and he said, well, water's essential. Aliens would know that water's essential. And so there's certain frequencies that you get from hydrogen and certain frequencies you get from OH, hydroxyl. And so HOH, this is like another way of writing water. So he figures that most aliens, if they wanted to be heard, would be broadcasting signals in that little range of frequencies right there. And so most radio searches for extraterrestrial intelligence are looking for intentional signals broadcast in that band. Now, that's not the sort of frequencies that you would be using necessarily for communication or things like that. You might, but you might not, and so you might be using other frequencies for radio communications or things of that sort. And so, for example, cell phones are way up in this range up here or higher. Okay, in fact, at most way higher than that. Okay, and so but these are fairly low frequencies that we're not likely to be using for communication. AM radio is in this sort of band in here somewhere. Okay, but other than that, this is not very well utilized, and so you typically would broadcast in those frequencies to be intentional heard. Okay, now the problem is that space is really big, and so the distances are huge. So if we did detect a signal, that signal was probably sent out hundreds of years ago, thousands of years ago, millions of years ago. And so even if we respond to it, it's gonna be equally long until the signal got back. So you can't really do a communication. Okay. There have been attempts here to listen. Ohio State actually had this giant radio telescope that did pick up a weird sort of signal they called the wow signal. It was never repeated. And that signal was it could have been just a random sort of thing there, that just looked like a intelligence signal, or it could have been an intelligence signal. We'll never know, because this particular radio telescope was using different radio frequencies than most of the others that we're searching, and it is now a parking lot for the football stadium. One problem here is the search for extraterrestrial intelligence has a bad reputation. And part of it comes back to a focus group that was a NASA focus group in which they got a bunch of educators together, school teachers, and they were saying, let's think about this, and could you come up with some ideas? And so this was a thought process. You know, if you were doing this, what would you do? And they came up with this idea called Project Cyclops, which was this giant collection of radio telescopes looking out in space, and of course would cost a fortune. And so when Senator Proxmire heard about this, he was very famous in the 1970s and 80s for what he called the Golden Fleece Award for wasteful spending of government money. And so he awarded Project Cyclops the Golden Fleece Award. Now, they really were never going to build it. This was just like a thought sort of thing. A bunch of public school teachers got together, NASA workshop, and they said, hey, everybody think, you know, what would you do? How would you find intelligent life if you had the unlimited resources to do it? And they came up with this. But it got misunderstood. And then the following decade, another senator actually managed to get a law passed that prohibited NASA from using any money to search for SETI, search for extraterrestrial intelligence. And so that was because the general idea that it was a waste. That doesn't stop, however, that private organizations. So there's actually something called the SETI Institute. The SETI Institute, which is a private organization, you can actually join it and donate money to them. Planetary Society is another one that actually works with them, and you can donate money. And they've actually did something very similar to the Project Cyclops, and that was they built a collection of 350 radio telescopes, building out here a giant interferometer just looking for radio signals from space. They also, for a long time, UC Berkeley used to have an interesting project going on, and that was they were collecting more radio signals than they had the ability to study them, and so people could download a screensaver that would run on your personal computer, and it would search all these radio signals. Well, modern computers have gotten so fast they no longer needed this sort of SETI at home sort of thing. But for decades, SETI at home actually ran as a screensaver for hundreds, thousands of people all over the world. Would just sit there and download radio signals, analyze them, and then upload the data, and then download it, read signals, and every now and then they'd find something. Everything they found turned out to be a satellite or something orbiting Earth. And so that's actually now become a bigger problem, because now there's so many satellites orbiting Earth that finding signals from space, intelligent signals from space, is being completely overwhelmed by all these stray satellite signals. But this raises an interesting question. Enrico Fermi, a physicist that worked on the atomic bomb, said, if there's aliens out there, where are they? You know, if technological advanced civilizations are so prevalent, then they ought to be easy to find, but we don't find any of them. So either our assumptions are wrong, or else technological civilizations are rare. Now, it could be either way. We could be wrong in our assumption, and it could be that technologically they advance beyond radio technology, and they don't even care to come visit us. I mean, why would you want to come here? And so, or they could be very rare. Okay. Now, you've heard, about UFOs and things. UFO is simply that. It's an unidentified flying object. It doesn't mean it's from outer space. It just means that something was seen that no one knew what it was. And that's a huge jump to say, therefore, it's from space. That's not the right way of looking at that. It is like, well, we don't know what it is. Okay, it could be from space. It could be just something that we don't know what it is. And in 99.999% of the cases, they actually able to figure out what they are, and it turns out to be something pretty. Okay. Stephen Hawking actually suggested once that maybe we should not let ourselves be known to aliens. Because after all, one of the driving factors towards intelligence is surviving other creatures, and some people like Carl Sagan assumed that you evolve into a peaceful civilization. Hawking said, well, no, you might actually evolve into a warlike civilization. Aliens might actually want to take over the universe, so we don't want them to know that we're here. Because after all, when Europeans came to the New World, they weren't exactly nice to the people living there that had lesser technology than they did. And so maybe we don't want to have that happen. Okay. And so, question, is anybody out there? We don't know. There's a lot of things that can kill off life. Even if the conditions are just right, and we don't know exactly how hard it is to get conditions just right, it's so many things can kill off life. Gamma ray bursts, supernova, asteroids, stars dying, all kind of things can kill off life. Okay. And it's also so it could be that life might get started, but then it might die before it develops technological advanced civilizations. And so the other possibility, though, is that we're just not detecting them because we are not sophisticated enough, because they might develop some technology beyond radio communication. Okay. And of course, there's always the possibility that, yeah, why would you want to talk to us? I mean, just kind of look around the world right now. Why would anyone want to come talk to us? So, with that, that's really pretty much the end of the class. It'd be really cool to actually spend an entire semester just talking about exobiology, but that wasn't really it. This was just kind of a bonus part here tossed into the end of the